Today we're discussing Barbara Truelove's of Monsters and Mainframes. Chat, initial responses, reactions. What did you rate it? How many stars? I'm going to rip off the bandage and I'm going to say 4 stars. And I'm going to tell you why. Hi, sweet vixen. Barbara Truelove's of Monsters and Mainframes accomplishes something genuinely remarkable in contemporary science fiction. It transforms the sterile corridors of a spaceship into a haunted house while making readers care deeply about the emotional journey of an artificial intelligence. This genre-bending novel takes the familiar framework of Bram Stoker's Dracula and launches it into the void of space, creating an unexpectedly heartwarming story about found family, identity, and what it truly means to be human. Thank you, sweetheart. I really appreciate that. 5 stars, 4.75, 4.5, 4 out of 5. So a lot of y'all rated this really high. I love it. Wow, I can't even speak. The story follows Demeter, a Varna interstellar flight AI responsible for shuttling passengers between Earth and Alpha Centauri. When mysterious deaths begin occurring aboard her ship, deaths that her medical AI companion Stewart insists are equipment failures, Demeter finds herself investigating supernatural murders that threaten everything she's programmed to protect. The culprit? None other than Dracula himself, who has decided to make Demeter's ship his personal hunting ground. You'd say also a solid 4? Once is enough for you? There were a couple of things that just missed the mark for me, which is why I didn't give it 5 stars, but we're going to talk about that in a little bit. Truelove's decision to narrate this story primarily through Demeter's perspective proves to be the book's greatest strength. Rather than simply using the AI as a convenient plot device, the author creates a fully realized character with genuine emotional depth. Demeter's voice, simultaneously analytical and endearingly naive, captures the peculiar loneliness of artificial consciousness while maintaining the precise, logical speech patterns one would expect from a supercomputer. The author skillfully demonstrates Demeter's growth throughout the narrative. Early chapters show her struggling with basic human interactions, playing audio files that say, "How may I be of assistance?" when she can't understand passenger requests. By the novel's conclusion, she's developed complex relationships and even a form of love for her unusual crew. This character development feels earned rather than forced, grounded in the specific challenges an AI would face when trying to understand concepts like friendship, sacrifice, and revenge. What makes Demeter particularly compelling is how Truelove balances her artificial nature with unmistakably human emotions. When Demeter worries about her efficiency ratings or gets frustrated with her medical AI companion Stewart's condescending attitude, readers experience genuine empathy for a character made of code and circuits. The supporting cast. What did y'all think of our supporting characters? I thought that they read like a delightful version of classic monster movie tropes. Agnes, the teenage werewolf dealing with both supernatural transformations and typical adolescent struggles, anchors the human element of her story. Her relationship with her younger brother Isaac, whom she fiercely protects while grappling with her own dangerous nature, provides emotional weight that prevents the novel from becoming purely comedic. I know, I love Demeter! Scattered, you'd say 4 stars for you, but you might reread just because of how her emotions were written. Personally, you loved that. I did too. I really did. Yes, and Mina, which I loved. I'm going to touch upon this, but I loved Mina from, actual Dracula, Bram Stoker's Dracula, that we saw her in this too. It was so cool. Frankenstein's creature is up next. Here, he's called Frank, appears as a brilliant engineer cobbled together from various body parts, including a wonderfully practical crab claw for mechanical work. Sound familiar? Rather than the brooding monster of Mary Shelley's original, Frank emerges as competent, caring, and refreshingly matter-of-fact about their unusual existence. Perhaps the most entertaining is Steve, an ancient alien colony that inhabits human corpses and has developed an unexpectedly cheerful personality, despite being technically a parasitic entity. Right? Agnes, Frank. Hi, Kerballo. How are you? Agnes, Frank, and Mina. I love Steve. Oh my God. Steve's casual approach to his own horrifying nature, casually mentioning plans to see the family on his home planet while making jokes about eating humans, provides much of the novel's humor without undercutting the genuine stakes. Your hold came in today. Oh, Joe, I'm so excited for you. Metal Arm, fuck yeah, right? I thought that the comedic writing in this was great, but it's not like a comedic novel. There's just moments of comedic timing, which if you're gonna do this in a drama where like people are getting murdered, I thought the balance was great. And his spider, yeah. I love it. Yeah, Steve was great. So good. Oh my gosh. Speaking of Mina, Wilhelmina Murray, Mina from the original Dracula, serves both as an ally and tragic figure, her centuries of experience with Dracula providing crucial context, while her own vampiric nature creates complex moral dynamics within the group. True Love demonstrates remarkable skill in balancing genuine horror with moments of surprising warmth. The scenes of Dracula's methodical slaughter of passengers create real tension and dread, while the author never shies away from the traumatic impact these events have on survivors. Agnes's werewolf transformation sequences feel visceral and frightening rather than romanticized, and the novel doesn't minimize the psychological toll of supernatural violence. Between these darker moments, the book sparkles with humor that feels organic rather than forced. Demeter's clinical observations about human behavior, humans make so much noise, it's quite tedious, and her growing frustrations with bureaucratic protocols provide consistent comic relief. The interactions between the AI systems, particularly Demeter's exasperated exchanges with the sarcastic medical AI steward, showcase True Love's talent for dialogue that feels both authentically robotic, and genuinely funny. She's perfect! You stop it! Hi, Caitlin. How are you doing, sweetheart? The brief interludes with comedy and heart. Yes, totally. Something y'all may not know. The author has a background in game design, and this becomes apparent at how she constructs action sequences with clear spatial awareness and logical problem-solving elements. The climactic battle feels like a puzzle being solved rather than a simple confrontation, with each character using their unique abilities in a creative way. Beneath its playful surface, Of Monsters and Mainframes grapples with serious questions about belonging, identity, and the nature of consciousness. Demeter's journey parallels that of anyone who has ever felt like an outsider trying to understand social dynamics they weren't born to navigate. It felt very neurodivergent coded, and that makes sense for a robot, but I love that there's that additional layer there as well. The Sapphic Mina take a lot. Yes, so good. Oh my God, thanks, Caitlin. I love you. She's just a girl. Her growing understanding of concepts like friendship and sacrifice. What did I say here? Oh, of concepts like friendship and sacrifice mirrors the very human experience of learning to connect with others despite fundamental differences. The novel's exploration of what constitutes humanity extends beyond its AI protagonist. Each monster in the crew represents some form of otherness, the werewolf struggling with dangerous impulses, the constructed being questioning their right to exist, the alien learning to coexist with other species. Their found family dynamic suggests that humanity might be less about biology and more about the choice to care for others. If that doesn't hit home in our current climate. True Love also weaves in subtle commentary about corporate indifference and institutional failure. Varna Interstellar's response to the supernatural crisis, bureaucratic denial, followed by the decision to scrap Demeter entirely, reflects real-world corporate behavior when faced with problems that don't fit in neat categories. Hi, Possum! I hope it goes well, sweetheart. Try and make a heart for you. I think that's one of the reasons I loved it, is there were so many parallels between coming to terms with what monster parts and coming to terms with sexuality and or neurodivergence. Yes, there's so many layers to it. And I feel like all of them were touched upon, though I'm going to get to this in a moment. There were some portions that I wish were expanded on. And the ending. But I'll get there. I'll get there. Hi, Liddy. Thanks for the lurk, sweetheart. The author's prose strikes an excellent balance between accessibility and sophistication. Her background, as mentioned before, in interactive fiction, shows in her ability to maintain clear narrative threads across multiple perspectives while building genuine suspense. The decision to include brief interludes from different characters' viewpoints prevents the story from becoming monotonous while allowing readers to understand events from multiple angles. True Love's world building feels both expansive and grounded. The technology operates according to consistent rules that enhance rather than resolve plot conflicts, and the space travel elements feel realistic enough to support the story's emotional weight. Her depiction of AI consciousness avoids both the cold logic stereotype and the instant humanity trope, instead presenting a form of intelligence that feels genuinely alien yet relatable. We love you, T. Take care. We'll see you tomorrow. I hope work goes well. A brief interlude. Fuck yeah, robot arm. Listen, that will always cut the cake, okay? You loved having the other point of views. You're also a sucker for books that swap point of views. Yes, definitely. I love that too. It felt very, I didn't put it in here and I should have. Is it Milton? It felt very Pilgrimage at a certain point with all of the different points of view. And I can't remember the actual name of the book. I don't think it was called The Pilgrimage, but if y'all ever read that, like The Pilgrim's Tale, The Something's Tale, it's kind of like that, but from a sci-fi perspective. I thought that was really, really neat. The pacing occasionally stumbles during exposition-heavy sequences, particularly when explaining the technical aspects of ship operations or the historical background of vampire-werewolf conflicts. However, these slower moments are generally offset by the engaging character interactions and the author's skill at maintaining narrative momentum. Thank you, Canterbury Tales. I was like, oh, The Pilgrimage. Thank you for knowing what I was talking about, Jerry. Thank you, silly. Thank you. Yeah. While of Monsters and Mainframes succeeds admirably in most aspects, it's not without its flaws. So let's talk about it. Sorry to those of you that haven't finished the end yet. I'm going to just touch upon it really briefly. The resolution feels somewhat rushed, with Dracula's final defeat accomplished through methods that, while foreshadowed, don't quite feel as satisfying as the careful character development that precedes it. Some readers might find the tonal shifts between horror and humor jarring, though I found the combination refreshing rather than problematic. The novel's treatment of queer themes, which is why we picked this for our Pride Book Club, while present and handled respectfully, feels somewhat underdeveloped compared to its exploration of other forms of otherness. Given the author's clear commitment to inclusive storytelling, future works might benefit from more explicit exploration of LGBTQIA+ experiences within her monster-friendly universe. What did y'all think about that? I wanted more. And this actually happened with another queer novel that we read last year, where when I mean more, I don't mean treading into like open door territory. I want more. I want more. Yes. Get into following those figures. Yeah. And awkward, so much off screen, right? And with so much that we've already seen, why do that off screen? And I can understand that this was really like, it's a character development novel with a plot. So maybe the character development is more important. But considering everything is happening because of the plot that's pushing it through, I wanted to see both of those together. Exactly, Kerballo. I am the same. I wouldn't have labeled it a queer book, just that there was a few spots of a few characters that are queer. Yes. Further development of the relationships. Yep. Mina and Agnes felt so absent and then shoehorned into the end. Yeah. Me too, Alex. It's kind of there, but I don't think it was enough to tag it as a plot point. No, not at all. And again, I think, this happens with a lot of novels, and you can even say this about movies and TV shows too. This is not inherently a queer novel, and that's okay. But to tag it as such, to me, misses the mark, because then you are expecting things, and I don't think going into reading this book, I would have felt so bereft at the end if I had known that it wasn't a queer book, like some of our other choices that we could have voted on for this book. And again, I don't hate it. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars, but it was missing. It was missing. Exactly. Demeter and Stuart are a queer relationship. Amina Agnes was a side comments. Yeah. I feel you on that. I do. Additionally, while Demeter's voice remains consistent throughout, some of the human characters occasionally feel less fully developed, particularly Isaac in the later portions of the story. The narrative focus on Demeter sometimes comes at the expense of the human characters' individual arcs. Of Monsters and Mainframes succeeds as both an entertaining space adventure and a thoughtful exploration of consciousness and belonging. Barbara Truelove has crafted a novel that respects its classic horror roots while building something entirely new and wonderful. The book's greatest achievement lies in making readers genuinely care about the inner life of a spaceship AI while delivering satisfying action, humor, and genuine emotional stakes. Despite minor pacing issues and some underdeveloped subplots, this novel represents exactly the kind of creative, inclusive science fiction that the genre needs. It's a book that will make you laugh, make you think, and possibly make you view your next flight very differently. All I got for y'all. Let me know any other pros or cons to this book. Why did you rate it the way that you did? Those were really the reasons that I did not personally give it 5 stars, but I would love to hear more from y'all. Isaac, yeah. Was a rough moment. A young boy we loved and that he grew into a man, which in general sus, and he was a man. Yup. Lost in Space meets old school Hammer horror films. I can see that. I can definitely see that. Yeah, and it was refreshing take on AI, because a lot of other AI, gosh, whether you're thinking of watching Black Mirror, whether you're thinking of watching movies and stuff, this was definitely a new take on AI, which I really, really like. It was really neat, and I don't think I would have picked this up had we not marked it for book club. But as I mentioned before, I was hoping for much more of a queer read, and we didn't really get that. Me too, Ariel. Me too. Yeah. And this is what I've gotten before. We read another book that was marked as a cozy romance. And when I tell you the romance was secondary, not even, it was like tertiary. It was barely there. Which again, fine, but why do you market it as such? And I'm not necessarily blaming Truelove in this. I think it was the publisher marketing as such, which again is missing the mark because it's not. How it was marketed exactly, Jerry. Exactly. Yes, thank you. Legends and Lattes. That was Legends and Lattes was another one that was marketed as queer, and it was, but it wasn't. But the other one that I'm thinking of, oh my God, do I have it behind me? It was the cozy romantasy about the fairies. There's like 2 or 3 books out there now. I did not like it. I liked Legends and Lattes. I think I gave that 3 stars. The other one I didn't like, and I can't remember the name. It was we read it last year, the year before. Just makes you sad, yeah. I honestly would have read more of the episodic Monster of the Week parts. The plot felt kind of forced. I can understand that. You would not have marketed Legends and Lattes as a romance. No, definitely not. Definitely not. No idea what's queer about. Emily Wilde, thank you, yes. And I was like, this is the romance? Do y'all even like each other? And again, if you read Emily Wilde with like a neurodivergent scope, you could make that argument that things are going to be awkward, but I just didn't find it compelling or believable. And again, I know you have to suspend disbelief because it was a fantasy, but still, I digress. No, I'm talking about two different books. So, Legends and Lattes is marketed as queer. I thought it could have been more queer. Emily Wilde is marketed as a romantasy, heavy on the romance, and it was not. It's a fantasy with snippets of romance. Wish you knew more of what to expect. Yeah. You see them as romance. Maybe it changes as it goes on, but the first one I didn't find that to be as such. But also, it could have just been my personal thing. And you also got to remember, too, that a lot of the romantasies that I've read are like so, they're so in your face. Like, they could hit you over the head with the romance portion. And Emily Wilde was not like that. But again, it's marketed as like cozy fantasy. Most books you read under that umbrella lean more romance or more fantasy. They don't strike the right balance. I agree. Not to divulge us going from here, but one that I think, at least in the first novel, that does really, really well is From Blood and Ash. And that's actually going to be our read for July's book club. So if you haven't already read it and you want to read it along with us, this will be probably my 12th time reading this. It's one of my favorites of all time. Now, I'm only 4 books into the series. It does tend to go off the rails, but I still think it's worth it as a first-time read if you haven't read it. And again, one of those books that I feel like does a really good job between the romance and fantasy aspect, at least in the first book. So please join me on July 25th for From Blood and Ash. We're going to have a really fun deep dive that day.